Welcome back. I am Tyler here with my brother Ryan, and today we are doing the Arizona Cardinals 3-round mock draft. So this is going to be a lot of fun, and we're going to break down their 6 picks. They have 6 picks in the top 100. We're going to start out here with their first pick in the draft, going to be fourth overall. Ryan, if you want to pull the slide up here. So we ended up going with Marvin Harrison Jr. here, but before we kind of break down into that, just to orient you a little bit on what you're seeing here. We did include the first couple picks before and after, and then also to the right, you can see some other potential options that we feel also would be a good pick here. And so we're going to go through that with every single pick that they have in the top 100. And so I will say I think that there are 3 potential options here for the Cardinals. This is going to be the one that is going to be the biggest no doubter, is if the first 3 QBs go off the board, then they're left with Marvin Harrison Jr., and Caleb Williams did end up going number 1 to Chicago in our mock draft. Second option is going to be if Marvin Harrison Jr. is taken, they could take Joe Alt, who we have on the right there, or Olufushano, whichever tackle that they have left. Then you have Paris Johnson Jr., who they drafted last year, and then going to have another stud, amazing tackle. Then they're going to be set at tackle probably for the next decade at least. And so knock on wood, of course, barring injury. Or the third option, the one I think that is very interesting, and this is what I want you to hear and leave a comment on the route that you would want them to go. But I think this is a potential trade back option as well. Marvin Harrison Jr. is not there. They could also too, I guess, take Malik Neighbors as well. Roma dudes. I don't want to disclude that. But if they trade back here, a team like Atlanta, they will give you an arm and a leg, I think, to go up and get Jaden Daniels. I think there's other teams that are behind them that could be looking for a quarterback. Our Vikings at 11, Denver at 12, the Raiders at 13. I think is a very legit option. I like Aiden O'Connell, but still. So I think with this though, I think no matter what, I think you go get Marvin Harrison Jr. I mean, because he's arguably the best prospect in this draft. So I want to throw it over to you here. What's your thoughts kind of on this pick overall and some other things the Cardinals can do with their first pick?
Yeah, so I'm going to take a different route on this explanation here. I want to talk about Malik Neighbors here for a second. Malik Neighbors, I think when you watch him on tape, is one of the most dynamic and well-rounded receiver prospects that we've seen probably since Jamar Chase. I don't know if he's quite to that level. He's more explosive, I think, than Jamar Chase, but he might not have kind of the elite route refinement coming straight out of college that Jamar Chase had. And to me, Marvin Harrison Jr. is a step above that, right, as a wide receiver prospect. So you have this fantastic prospect in Malik Neighbors that is comparable to Jamar Chase. They're both 6 foot, about 200 pounds, even the same school, run great routes, been developed very well. And then Marvin Harrison Jr. to me is even a step above that. So I think if you are able to get that guy at 4, I think that you're running to the podium. And to me, the only other option that they would, the only other way that they would take a different route is if Marvin Harrison Jr. goes off the board at 3 to New England, or if Washington or Chicago does decide that, well, you know what, we're just going to take Marvin Harrison Jr. there at 1 or 2. To me, that's the only other way that they decide to go with Malik Neighbors or Joe Alt. I do really like Joe Alt. To me, he is the Marvin Harrison Jr. of tackle prospects. Penei Sewell was a great left tackle at Oregon, and I think Joe Alt might be a better prospect given his age and his physical abilities still to develop, since the fact he's only 20, than Sewell. So that to me, I think, just kind of speaks to the top of this class and how elite some of these guys are. That the Cardinals really have a chance to get the best wide receiver prospect we've seen potentially ever at the 4th overall pick. So,
well, and I think too, there's so many different routes that they could go about doing that. But I think another thing as well, just this class as a whole, is just so deep. And I think Marvin Harrison Jr. is probably the best prospect in this class. So I think, and this kind of leads into then their next pick. They have 2 picks in the first round. I think you get the best overall prospect, which is going to be a receiver. And then you can still go get a great offensive lineman with your second pick in the first round. So, and we have them going with Jordan Morgan here, offensive tackle. There's a couple other guys I think that they could potentially go. The way it worked out was we had Jordan Morgan go here. I will say we did do this before the Senior Bowl, as I mentioned. So not doing this here. I think there's a couple other guys. Tyler Guyton, I think, really impressed me.
Yeah.
There are guys like Patrick Paul. If Troy Fatanu is it Troy Fatanu falls a little bit, I think he could be a versatile option as well. Can maybe kick inside a guard. Graham Barton's another guy that can kick inside a guard as well. So, but the way the draft panned out, we did have them go with Jordan Morgan here, the 27th pick. You're a big fan of Jordan Morgan, aren't you?
I am. To me, I think he seemed to be built like a prototypical tackle at the NFL level. At the Senior Bowl, this is going to sound so stupid, but 33-inch arms is kind of the standard for tackles now in the NFL. And I think Jordan Morgan's arms were like 32 3/4, which to me reminds me of Peter Skoronski last year, who was a fantastic offensive line prospect. However, he just had like the 32.5-inch arms, like just like a half inch too short. And like he didn't make it at the NFL level at tackle. And the Titans, who are desperate at tackle, ended up kicking him into left guard. And so I think at the end of the day, Jordan Morgan will be kicked into guard. He does have like above average athleticism and good footwork. I just think because of that, like very minor, but very impactful physical limitation, he's going to be most likely a guard at the next level.
Yeah.
So
no, it's, I think we all, if we were a quarter inches longer in certain areas, who knows how our life would have panned out. But I think if he's still an offensive guard, I still think he's going to be very good in the NFL. And even then, too, if he kicks in, then that still means then they got Paris Johnson Jr., then they got Jordan Morgan here as well.
Yeah, exactly.
And the interior, just building up that offensive line, helping protect Kyler Murray and company as well. Also, too, imagine James Conner had such a great year last year, and he's 28. So imagine how if they keep improving that offensive line, and he can still keep playing at that level. That would just be insane. So let's move on, though, to the second pick. They are picking just a couple picks later at 35. I think that might be a typo. It's 35, actually, I think. Yeah,
it is 35. My bad.
Okay. No, because Carolina's at 33.
New England's 34. Yeah.
So that's all good. You're fired. No. I'm just playing. But we try to go on the opposite side of the ball here and go with Braylon Trice. I think when it comes defensively, needs for the Cardinals would be defensive tackle, defensive end, inside linebacker, outside linebacker, cornerback, secondary, safety, strong safety, free safety. Did I miss anything?
No, I think that covered the whole defense.
And that's pretty much, I think that's, and I say all that too, just to full respect to everybody that played on the defense last year, because they tried so hard, but you could just tell, like, talent-wise, they just weren't there. They just struggled. And I really think, to me, gave me a lot of optimism for the Cardinals moving forward 2024, 2025, just because of if these guys are playing this hard under Jonathan Gannon, they're going to slowly keep improving. But then if they just get younger, better talent around them as well, who knows where this defense could go? Who knows where he could lead this team? So we went Braylon Trice here. I think this is about a good spot for him to fall. Maybe he could go a little bit sooner. But I really think anybody and their mother, I think, is available defensively right here. So, they could honestly maybe even still go offensive as well if they really like the guy. So,
I mean, for me, I really like Braylon Trice, especially in this system. He kind of has that inside-outside versatility. He's about 6'5", 275. So he's going to be big enough to kind of play like a 3-4 end, or if you want to play like a 4-down lineman system, he can still kick out and play that edge. He's going to be a really good edge setter. He did struggle against the power run game of Michigan. However, I do think he faced a fair amount of double teams in that matchup, and they also did kind of run the ball away from him when he was not double teamed. So again, just a really solid player here. I don't think he'll ever be like an all-pro or anything like that, but I think you're just going to get a consistent contributor for the next 5 to 8 years out of a guy like Braylon Trice. Probably going to be an 8-sack guy. And from what I've heard about, he was a very big locker room presence there as well. So I really like this pick. I will say, looking back at it and post Senior Bowl, I think T'Vondre Sweat would be another guy that I would really like to maybe see go at this pick. Simply because I think you look at what Jonathan Gannon wanted to do in Philadelphia. You had Fletcher Cox, Jordan Davis from Georgia, big run-stuffing nose tackles. Then they got the speedy edge rushers on each side of him, and that's when that defense was really, really good. And I think if you get a guy like that in T'Vondre Sweat, you could go and get those really athletic edge rushers. Even, I mean, I think Chop Robinson is going to be available for around their next pick, and they have the draft capital to kind of move around the board and go target players. And I think Chop Robinson would be a fantastic fit. If you have T'Vondre Sweat at nose tackle, you go get Chop Robinson as an edge rusher. Jonah Ellis is another guy here that went at 45. That's probably going to go a little bit higher that I think would be another really good fit there as well. So
yeah, well, I think that's a good point that I want to touch on that you mentioned. Since their second and third pick are so close together that if there's a guy that they like just outside or like in the late teens or early 20s, I think having that 27th pick, they'll have some flexibility if they want to move up, and they have the draft capital. I mean, shoot, I think they have. Let me go and double check here real quick. They have 10, 2, 4, 6, 8, 10, 12, 13 picks total. So
yeah,
and going from like 27 to 20 isn't really going to do too much movement overall. And then
maybe a fourth rounder, I think.
Maybe a fourth rounder. And we saw so much movement last year. I think a lot of teams are in that, like, let's go get a guy that we like. I think there was 25 to 26 trades last year, if not more.
Yeah,
I think because I think teams have the mentality if they like a guy, they're just going to go get him. And then if they don't like anybody, they know they can trade with somebody back, get a couple of draft picks. So let's move on though now to their first pick in the third round. They have 3 picks here. End up going with Josh Newton here, dressing that secondary. Once again, there's so many different routes. I really do like the defensive players in the day 2 range as well. A lot of different guys I think that they can go and get. So Josh Newton, TCU, I believe, right?
Yes.
Yeah, okay. All right. Yeah. And so what do you like about him?
So I actually forget the guy's name, but they had the college cornerback last year that was really, really good. But he was like 5'7" at TCU. I forget, it was like Tredavious something. I can't remember his name off the top of my head, but he won the award for the best cornerback in college football in 2022. And Josh Newton was the better, more highly touted prospect on that team. He didn't have the best 2023 season, kind of why he's not considered in that top echelon of players. But I think when you look at what he brings to the table, he's got good size. He can mirror players kind of wherever they go on the field. He can play in the slot. He can play out wide. He is going to be a true corner. He's not really going to be a guy you can kick to safety. But I really like getting this value here at the top of the third round. You get a elite talent at corner that just needs some development and some better play against top competition.
Yep, and Travarius Hodges-Tomlinson.
Yeah, Trey Hodges-Tomlinson. That's who I was thinking of.
So
let's move on here to the next one. Rook Arroyo, the defensive tackle from Clemson. Again, going to be a little bit of an undersized defensive tackle, but he's going to get after the passer really well. And I think, again, if you pair him up with a guy like Braylon Trice, this would be your, I guess, strong side edge defender in that 3-4 outside system that Jonathan Gann likes to run. Or if you want to run that traditional 4-down lineman, he can just be an undersized defensive tackle for you. You might just want to then put him on the same side as Braylon Trice, just so those guys are kind of evening out that defensive line there. So again, a really versatile defender, really athletic guy, just needs some polishing and refinement here as well. That's kind of.
Yeah, I think the strategy, the more and more I think about it, is the first round's going to be so offensive heavy of guys that you can go and get and start immediately. And I think day 2 and day 3 with how many picks they have is let's just load up the defensive side of the ball. Because then there's still a lot of good defensive talent. Just going to need a little bit of development here. I will say, sorry, go ahead.
I don't want to say quantity over quality because I think they're still making good picks, but I think there's going to be a bigger difference made with more just quantity of draft picks spent on the defensive side of the ball than if they were to kind of divide it up between both sides of the ball.
Well, and that's why you're right. Because I would say if you get 2 guys, if you double dip at multiple positions and you get 2 guys that you really like, odds are, that one of them is going to be decent.
A starter.
A decent starter, So I will say here, sneaky spot. Blake Corum went at 64. Then Trey Benson went at 69 to the Los Angeles Chargers, as you can see here. And then Jonathan Brooks went a little bit later at 85. And there's a couple other running backs also that went later. Sneaky running back spot here. And potentially even also to at their 90th pick, if you want to go there as well. And
Yeah.
you can see Ray Davis was taking the next pick after. We ended up double dipping, doing one of those double dips at corner, go with Max Melton.
Yeah.
And so,
They need
but
it.
I think here James Conner was one of the better running backs in the league last year. I think he had over 1,000 yards. I'll go back
If
and
not
double check.
close to it.
And he still was on IR for 4 games. So all that being said, though, he is getting 28. He is getting up there in age a little bit. This is the best running back class. Well, I guess compared to last year, but there's still good running back talent that you can go get in day 2. And with 4 day 2 picks, I would not be surprised if they take one of those on a running back here. Maybe when we do our 7-round mock draft. And so if you're still with us here, be sure to subscribe and ring the bell to get notified when that video comes out, which should be within the next week or so. Potentially, I can absolutely see us taking a running back here at one of the day 2 picks. But going with Max Melton here, something similar to Josh Newton as well. Josh Newton's a little bit on the smaller side. Max Melton's on the bigger side, so give them kind of a little bit opposite type of cornerback here. So I think that they just need some more development and overall just more talent in the secondary.
Yeah. So just to kind of go through it really fast, pick 4, Marvin Harrison Jr., pick 27, Jordan Morgan, offensive tackle, guard out of Arizona. At pick 35, not 34, Braylon Trice, the edge rusher out of Washington. Josh Newton, cornerback out of TCU at 66. Rook Orohoro, the defensive tackle at 71. And then last but not least, Max Melton, the cornerback out of Rutgers at pick 90. I just think this is a really solid class. I think you look, they invested at the top, like high-end assets on the offensive side of the ball, and then they just kind of started to build depth with the second 4 picks. I really like this class for a team like the Arizona Cardinals, who is going to be in a rebuilding stage this year, but I think they're going to be in that competitive rebuild stage. Like, they're not going to be like, I think they'll have a chance to make a wild card, but I think you look at that division, you'll have the Rams, the 49ers, and even the Seahawks, I think, will be competitive as well. So I definitely see them being competitive. But with a class like this, I think they set themselves up really well to compete later on and into the future. And like I think we'll really see the progress made with some of these draft picks.
Oh, yeah. Oh, well, yeah. It's what we talked about. Like, if you start off with Marvin Harrison Jr., it's like, man, that's going to be a hard draft class not to like. So it'll be interesting to see what they do in Arizona for the draft. A little bit of a longer video. If you're still with us, we appreciate it. But also, there's a lot of picks. So I will say this. Chicago, I think, is probably the most fascinating on what they're going to do with the draft. But I think an underrated fascination that I have is the Cardinals, just with how much movement that they have.
Yeah.
Wouldn't be surprised though too if they want to go try and get more draft picks and trade back, for future drafts and keep building. So it's going to be interesting to see what they end up doing here.
Yeah. So let's go ahead and wrap up this video here. If you guys have not already, please go ahead and like and subscribe. That is the best way to help out the channel. While you're down there, go ahead and leave a comment on what you thought of this Arizona Cardinals 3-round mock draft. Did you love it? Did you hate it? What would you do differently? And other than that, we'll see you guys next time.